Howdy. First floor. Going up.
Hi everyone, this is JimLiElevators here on YouTube, and do y'all still remember the 1981 vintage Otis Lexan elevators at 24 Greenway Plaza that have since gotten a slap-on modernization by ThyssenKrupp? Well, in case you may not know, I actually have the car station saved from one of the last elevator cars, but as you can see, they are literally in pieces. You got the main faceplate, the backside with full of contact switches, and all the button pieces that came off the panel faceplate, in which we will be putting back together. You guys have read the title, so y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Anyways, here's a little run through on how we are going to be restoring the panel. Here I lay the button housing covers on the contact switches, and I cover it up with the panel faceplate, which unfortunately I lost the clip of that. But as soon as I lay all the button pieces together with the correct designated floor numbers, here is what the finishing looks like. So with that being said, let's work on fully restoring this panel. Alright, so after lining up the bracket full of contact switches with the car station panel faceplate, you may notice that there is something missing to hold them both together. So we're going to need to make some sort of metal piece from here that goes all the way to here in this length. So that way, once we have that particular metal piece in this exact length that I'm describing here, it'll screw both the bracket and the panel properly, holding it together. And something about this Otis Lexan elevator button housing cover, you see, it was glued when they originally installed the elevators at 24 Greenway Plaza. So we're going to need to use something to glue the button cover up so that way it does not move whenever I press the button. You see, look at this. Unlike Jason's video of the Otis Lexan elevator wiring, the hole in his video was not big. Look how big the hole is on my panel. Reason being is, whenever you press the button, you see the contact block on the bracket is shaking. But if you press it here, it does not shake. So that is why we needed a metal piece to hold both the bracket and the faceplate together so it does not move. That way, whenever I press the button, the housing cover does not always move a lot after it is glued on, holding it still. Alright, here is a detailed view of what the back panel looks like, which is a bracket full of contact switches for an Otis Lexan elevator. And as you may notice, we have wired them up first thing. As you may notice, the replaced light bulb. Some of the contacts are a little bit finicky, so that's why the lights are flickering, but they do work. As I give it a test, you see, just to make sure that they all work before we continue this project further. See, all the buttons light up and they work very well. And just like that, everything works perfectly fine. And look at the door open, door close alarm button contact switches. You may notice, I wonder why there are like 2 button contact switches. Well, I probably think they were going to go with a black button originally, but changed their mind instead. Okay, so my father found me this thin metal plastic that I could use to cover up the holes where the brails originally were located. And as you may notice, I drew this line right here because this thin metal plastic is a little bit still too big, and I needed to cut parts of it a little bit more. So I'm going to cut this part all the way down to here. That way, we don't have any visible plastic shown in the corner of the buttons. And just like that, first things first, I replaced the new tape after cutting everything, and here is the result right now. See, this is what the result looks like. As you can see, look how I cleared the hole for the button. You see, it is nice and clear for that metal piece to be away from the hole so the buttons can safely go in. And as you see right here, I've also added more tapes because notice parts of the plastic pieces are popping up, leaning against the bolt. See, that is a minor hazard of some sort for someone to accidentally cut their finger if they bump into it. But anyways, let's glue the button housing covers together. See, notice how big this hole is. See, look at this. You can literally wiggle the button. Unlike Jason's video, that Otis Lexan elevator call station, the hole is not that big. See, look how big this hole is on my panel. See, you can literally wiggle it. See, if you can see it crooked. So what I'm going to do is try to center the button housing covers, lining up with the hole the best I can like this, and not crooked, which looks something like this that I'm showing you, because with the button crooked on the hole, it just doesn't look good. So I'm going to center it like this. And once I get it finally centered, I will trace a line with a Sharpie around the corner end of the button housing cover, holding its backside so it does not move in the process. And here is what I'm exactly talking about. You can see all the lines I made up around the holes where the button's going to be plugged into. See, I traced it all around. I traced each of the holes for where the button's going to be. So that way I know which line to put it in. Kind of like this. See? Just like that. Hopefully they should be decently centered, so I'm going to do the rest for the other buttons, and we'll take a strong glue on. All right, we finally got the button housing covers attached with glue onto the panel. And as you can see, they don't move as much anymore than it did before. You see? They barely even move now. So this front panel is pretty much done. And as you may notice, you can see that we've already added the metal pieces that'll hold the back panel in place where the contact switches are. And with that, we finally got the backside with full of contact switches attached onto the front panel. You can see this thing holding it together onto the front and back. You see this metal thing right here that is holding it in place? As you can see, this metal thing right here is bolted onto the front panel, holding the backside together. Here is another one of these brackets that we made on the other side. See, the same thing is holding it together. And here is one more on the opposite end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pan the camera up and down on each side to make sure that everything is in place and that the metal piece is holding the backside well. Here's the other side going down all the way to where you see this metal bracket holding the backside together. And here's this metal bracket holding it together. So this project is pretty much mostly done. And with that, you can see we have this thing temporarily wired up all the way onto this outlet right there. See, there's your adapter onto the wall. As Jason says, known as STL elevators, you want to know your polarities whenever you're wiring this kind of stuff. See, this orange wire is your positive, and this gray wire is your negative. We just temporarily wire this up just to make sure the button light works before we permanently wire this all up. Now, with the panel put back together, let's give this thing a test. Yeah, some of the contacts are a little bit dirty, so that's why the lights flicker. But as you can see, they work pretty well, aside from the flickering light bulbs. It's not just the light bulb. The contact is kind of finicky, but they do work. The 12 button does light up, but the contact is just finicky, like I said. Yeah, some of the contacts are just a bit dirty, but they work, as you can see. Here's the door open, this door close, and the alarm. But the project is not technically over yet, and the reason why is because we do need to add a framing around the panel, because as you saw while I was pressing the button, this panel still wiggles a lot because it is bent. You see, whenever I press the button, this thing like wiggles a lot because you can kind of bend it. Something you may notice with this Adams emergency stop key switch is that this red ring is like literally sticking out of the panel. It wasn't like this before when the elevators were still active at that time, but it is what it is though. Another thing that I've also noticed is that the buttons weren't properly centered well, as I happen to realize it. But again, it is what it is. Anyways, I'm going to try to find some numbers I can place onto the hole where the brails used to be onto the metal plastic, making it somewhat similar to an actual braille. Okay, so as you see, we finally got a frame around the panel so that way it does not bend or wiggle a lot whenever I press the button. As you look down at the very base level, that right there is a stand from out of an old television. See, we added a frame on both sides, and as you look at the top, you can see the screws bolted down to hold everything in place. Again, that is your base from out of an old television, so it doesn't fall side to side. With a much better view out in the sunlight of the panel, so you can see, as I press the button, I just want to show it to you just in case, since it's much more brighter. Again, I apologize that the button housing covers were not properly centered, but it is what it is though. See, the buttons work, and you notice this stop key switch is like literally sticking out, but that's okay though. And with the extra circles where the brails used to be, I think I'm gonna create a custom number onto these circles right here that looks kind of similar to an actual elevator braille, but not exact. On top of that, and not to mention, as you notice this 12, I'm also going to come up with something relating to the 12th man. As you all know, I absolutely love A&M, so I'm going to come up with something relating to the 12th man, considering the 12th floor is the top level. And I think I'm going to put a sign up here and an arrow pointing to the 12 button. Okay, now it is time to wire this up to an adapter. So we will cut this part out, spread it, and expose the wires, and do the same for the other one. And after that, we will connect them onto the panel like the temporary wiring I just showed you a little bit ago. Just like that, we will now take the wires and connect them both together, which goes to the negative end of the adapter. Take a wire nut and twist it down and down and down till it's covered up. And then we will do the same thing for the other wires, which this one goes to the positive end of the adapter. So we will twist them the same way like we did on the negative side. Twist it and twist it. Take a wire nut and hook it on, just like that. Once you completed the wiring, all you need to do is manage them up a little bit so that they're organized. And here is a detailed view of the plug adapter itself. It is 7.5 volts. Pause the video if you want to read it. And here is the front side. Pause if you want to read. Same thing. And here is another view of the back side itself. One most important thing. Never have anything plugged into the wall until you're finished wiring everything. That is the number one rule, is never plug anything to the wall until you are finished. What we're going to do now is take this adapter and tie it around a knot. So what we will do is we're going to tighten this up, tighten as much as you can. And once that is tightened up very well, we're going to manage this thing a little bit. And after that, we'll take an extension cord, plug it onto the adapter, and plug the end onto the wall, and we'll give it a test. Just like normal, it works despite the contacts being a little bit too finicky, but otherwise they work pretty well and light up. See, just like that. Here is another better view. So you press the button and they light up. Like I said, some of the contacts a little bit funny, so that's why the light struggles. But otherwise, it works very, very well. Okay, now that I decide to switch from voiceover to usual narration, with another better view of this panel with the audio unmuted. Yeah, sorry I have to mute the audio while voicing over for personal reasons, but now that I can safely unmute, so we went to Hobby Lobby and bought this bags of letter stickers that I can stamp onto these extra circles where the brailles used to be. Each of them cost $6, so that's a total amount of $12. This thing's going to be pretty useful to stick the numbers on. So this is going to be a perfect match for this panel right here. I think this is going to be a pretty useful craft that we're going to add these numbers, stick it onto these extra circles. So let's do that, shall we? Anyways, let's cue the music. Y'all, the numerical stickers are finally placed onto the extra circles. What do you guys think? Isn't this just a lovely craft work? Almost exactly like a real elevator braille that you see out in the fields. Unfortunately, I still need to make something for door open, door close, alarm, and the stop switch. But what I'm going to do is, hopefully I can get some sort of thick construction paper, almost just as thick as the sticker, you know, that still has something sticking on the back to it. What I'll do is I can cut certain parts out, use for the door open and for door close, and one for the alarm and the stop switch. But that is a project we will leave at the very last. But as I promised, I'm going to add a little signage for the 12th floor, something relating to the 12th man, as I promised to you. So that is what we're going to do at the very next step. Looking inside my private little storage room, I found a Texas A&M raincoat. So actually a rain bag. I think we can make a little project with this thing. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the number 12 at the very top part of the Texas symbol and man on the shoulder part, which makes it the 12th man. And we're going to attach this onto a piece of computer paper. So that's what we're going to do next. All right, y'all. Guess what? I finally made the sign that is going to go right here on this spot above the elevator control fixtures. What do you guys think of that? So the last thing I'm going to need to do is I'm going to need to make a little arrow that says press here, pointing to the 12th floor. So what I came up is this. I came up with this top floor called the 12th man penthouse. And it makes much sense because See, the number 12, I thought it would blend in very well. All right, I marked a dot where I'll be making the pointing arrow. Looks something like this. Kind of like that. So I'm going to make a little word that says something like, please press here or press this floor or something like that, which points to the 12th floor. And then after that, this work will be entirely finished. All right, this crafted 12th man sign is finally complete, and it's safely now on display on my elevator control operating panel right above the floor buttons. So this project is basically now complete. Well, 99% of the time, because as I promised, remember, I still need to add the door open, door close, alarm, and the stop symbols for these last 4 extra holes. But that is something I am certainly going to do off camera, so I'm not going to show you this on camera because I need to figure out what I need to use to fill in the last 4 extra holes. So that is the last part, but otherwise this project is officially complete now. So anyways, what do you guys think of this sign that I made here? Isn't this amazing? And look where I pointed the arrows to this 12 button right here. You see 12th floor, press here. This is the name that I came up with, the 12th man penthouse. You press here and it'll take you up to the 12th floor, opening the 12th man penthouse. That is a fictional name that I literally came up with. And for your information as well, I also added some tape right behind this Texas A&M raincoat even after I stapled them together, because I just don't want it to move. And second of all, I don't want this thing curling up, and when somebody bumps it with their fingernail, it could kind of get damaged or something. So I don't want that to happen. And I just wanted to flatten it the best way I can and not let it move all that much. See, it still moves a little. It still moves like less than an inch, but not as much. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this video. I spent several days making this, and please note, I'm not the one who did this all alone. My dad also helped me restore this entire panel altogether, because just to tell you, when I got this elevator control operating panel from 24 Greenway Plaza, well, half of 24 is 12, remember that. But anyways, when I got this car station, if you don't know, the COP was like literally all in pieces when they took the car station apart from out of the elevator cab. And we added this metal plastic cover because the brails that were originally on those elevators, unfortunately, I did not have the original brails when they took them all apart. See, that's the only material that I did not have are the original brails, but everything else I still have, and that's why me and my father added this metal plastic to cover the holes. And my father did all the screwing and putting both the front and back side together. You remember the back bracket with full of contact switches? We got they were all far apart from each other. This front main panel, including the back side, as well as so many button pieces that you saw throughout the video. So that's why we put them all together. It's not exactly the same how it originally looked, but as you can see, I got all creative with it at the end. Just note to you that my father helped me put this together, as well as doing the wiring and securing the backside onto the front, bolted the screws together like I showed you in the middle of the video. So at the end of this project, when it was finished, I did all this decoration myself by adding the numerical stickers as well as making this craft sign. Because, as you know, because because the 12th floor is like the toppest floor in the very top level, and as you can see, the button light can be pretty finicky, so you have to mash down the button a good amount of times in order to get it to work, but it does work. It does work though, but you just have to mash down the button really hard to get it to light up. I know it's kind of silly, but that's just the contact is just a little bit dirty, but I'm not sure how I can clean it up a little better, but clean up the contacts a little bit better, but I will say that it does work other than that. You see, this 12th man, I absolutely love this 12th man sign. It is my absolute most favorite kind of project I've ever did. Because if you guys watch my videos, y'all know how much I absolutely love A&M and by far my most favorite place I've ever filmed. And because people there are incredibly friendly. Yeah, I know people are friendly everywhere, but in my honest opinion, College Station is the utmost friendliest city I've ever filmed in my whole entire life. And by far the most friendliest out of anywhere else. That's just my honest opinion. People are friendly or unfriendly no matter where you go. Just in case you didn't know. But anyways, enough with all that chatter. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and take one last view of this elevator control panel that I spent days and days, if not 2 weeks, if not weeks, finishing this up. So yeah, the 12 button. Some of the contacts are pretty funny. So with that being said, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I had a lot of fun putting all the clips together and editing everything. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. And yeah, I think I'm going to add in both the intro, outro, closing the video, which I'm sure you already saw the beginning of it. I didn't think about adding the Texas A&M intro, outro, but making this sign, I think I decided why not. That's just something I thought in the last minute while making this video. So with that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you all enjoy the video. And that is going to be it. Giga Maggies. If I can get this 12 to work. Okay, well, that'll be all.